Episode of Newsed Up, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. I'm local man Aaron VanTuyl, joined today by Chronicle editor-in-chief Eric Schwartz, Chronicle VP Franklin Taylor, and Chronicle reporter Isabel Vander Stoep. And we're joined in spirit, as always, by our fantastic sponsors, Summit Funding and The Roof Doctor.
Do you think Summit Funding and the Roof Doctor have ever had a collab? You think they've ever gotten together on a house?
Just produced a mixtape together?
Yeah, a home of sorts.
Probably. We can only approve funding for this if the roof gets fixed. Do I have a number for you and a free estimate?
I'm assuming the Roof Doctor plays by an entirely separate set of rules based on their prestigious roof building.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Better rules.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. First things first, weekend festival roundup. What festivals did everybody attend and enjoy?
We brought home some hardware at the Boo Coda Pine Derby casket races.
Aaron was there to watch and not participate.
Yeah, that's how I live my life.
I already ran a 5K that day. That was what he said when we asked him.
I could see them.
You guys dominated. That's not what I said. You guys
exactly what he said.
I could see him
dominated some children out in Bucota. How do you feel about yourselves?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Those pictures were awesome.
Eric wanted to give them a participation trophy, and then they got the dead last trophy instead.
Which is what they wanted all along.
Yeah,
we finished third behind Stickland Funeral Chapel, which I don't know what's wrong with me, but it took me a long time to realize that, a business that deals in corpses, for lack of a better term, won the casket race. Mm-hmm. And then second place was Joe's Place, perennial powerhouse, the tavern there in Bucota. And then we came in third. And I think the ones that finished behind them were, it's like a Boy Scout troop, a group of small children, and then one other group that the only reason they didn't win is because they were letting the kids win, like every good team should do. Oh my God. But we got our trophy.
We didn't race the little kids.
We did the scouts, though.
Yeah.
Not the littlest kids.
Yeah,
Were the scouts keeping up with you and you guys had like a pull away moment?
Yeah, we won, but...
the races are like 9 seconds each. They're very quick heats.
Our mechanics were terrible. If you look at the photos, only me and Emily had both hands on the racks. Everybody else was trying to keep their pants and wallets up.
I was the corpse, and I promised them ahead of time that the only thing I would contribute were some ghostly moans, and I delivered.
Yeah, great work.
Yeah, it was
great
fun.
Work, all of you.
That was awesome.
You did good. It was fun.
And then
also had the Onalaska Apple Harvest Festival, which Aaron ran in the 5K, and I had a camel.
Wow, you
Curly the camel.
Curly the camel.
Cool. How old was it? Mm-hmm. Did you ask it? You're like super
I
old,
said,
Curly?
How old are you? And he was like...
No, not the eating ASMR.
I feel bad for the viewers now.
Camel eating ASMR, and it's like a cut. It's like chewing his cud thing,
Those weren't the only two festivals this weekend, though. Emily went out to Francis for a festival I believe you're familiar with, Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest, yeah.
Yeah.
They do that out at the Swiss Hall. They've usually got some bowling and
9-pin European bowling, not your regular bowling. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done that before?
I've covered some kids doing it years ago out at the Oktoberfest.
And then there's Stein holding, which gave me the idea that we could do that on this podcast if we all held Steins up simultaneously while we podcasted until someone finally lowered it.
Does the Stein have to be, how big is the Stein? And is it full of beer?
Yes.
I'm assuming
it is, yeah.
It's full the whole time. You don't get to drink from it, I think, for the competition. And I do think that it requires keeping your arm locked out straight. So can't... So that way it's like more of a workout. I don't think you can just hold it up the way that Eric was just doing in the demonstration that listeners cannot see.
Yeah. Okay. Any other festivals this weekend? Was that it?
That was kind of the close, That was kind of, the end of festival season for a little while until we get Christmas parades and stuff.
The Santa parade.
Lighted tractor parade. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's probably some Thanksgiving stuff coming up soon, too. Halloween is just around the corner.
But that's also not really a festival.
Tower Crawl.
Yeah, Tower Crawl.
That's definitely a festival for me. Remember when I said how much I hated the Tower Crawl earlier on this podcast? Because I just want to revoke that and say I'm sorry. It's not because I don't like the bars.
You said it was specifically a person issue.
I believe you blamed O'Blarney's, which
I
product
didn't.
placement. They've got their beer buddies back, ladies and gentlemen. I saw it on Facebook.
I would never blame O'Blarney's.
Get your beer buddies at O'Blarney's. Tip good.
Yeah.
Tip good.
I mean, I don't have a horse in that race. I'm just saying. Fine establishment.
This podcast is not sponsored by O'Blarney's, but the humor is.
I think O'Blarney's is more sponsored by this podcast than anything.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
If you look at our transactions.
Only Franklin liked my joke.
It was pretty damn good.
News items. First up, Centralia College's new athletic field got its turf installed. This is the downtown, right on the CC campus. They've got an athletic complex with a fast pitch field, a baseball field, and a full-size NCAA soccer field. My question, do they have an official name yet?
No, but I have a name for it. Ward's World.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
That's not bad.
For Steve Ward.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It's kind of the crowning accomplishment of Steve Ward. He's retired now, right? From Centralia College?
But he's still working on this project for sure.
I saw a picture of him on the turf, so that was cool.
Yeah.
They just have this is like permanent?
Oh, he's like,
A picture of him
on the turf.
in the turf.
I just want to mention here that Aaron used all of his associate editor power to suggest that Jared, our photographer, should go over and hold a phone there for several days to get a time lapse of the entire
good idea.
The entire process.
that's how they do it.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, he wanted him to leave the camera there just, through the week.
I'm sorry.
I like
the fool that I am. I thought Jared, a professional photographer, could find out a way to have a camera set up in one of the many windows
Well, you're right in one way. You are a fool.
that looks down upon the... You know what?
The Jared's gonna
DJ
stand there
Page
for
views
a
over
week.
here, just pissing away views. You could have got 1 billion views on
I
that.
got some angry faces just showing the photos.
1 billion.
Quite a few angry faces.
People were, it might be the people that used to live in the houses on that property. I don't know.
They were probably mad you didn't have a sick time lapse.
That's one of them commented that.
I
Yeah.
was all of the angry faces for taking out the fast track.
Could we see Centralia College get their own football team?
They had their own football team way back in the day. I don't know.
100 years ago.
Go through a whole rabbit hole here. They had it around the same time. ESPN personality Kenny Mayne played quarterback for Walla Walla, I believe, Community College.
That is a sports fanatic.
Does Lower
fact.
Columbia have a football team?
No,
Not anymore.
none of the NOAC schools do.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like it would be a great place to have one because, like, the other, what's the competition? You'd have to go pretty far.
I think
right?
I think we're talking 40, 50 years ago that was a thing.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
Grays Harbor had a team, and John Madden.
John Madden was on it briefly.
Yeah.
Rich history of community college
Wow.
football. I think it would be cool if they did have football. I think people would go watch.
Be cool. But yeah, no teams to play. I mean, that kind of makes it a lot harder.
Could you imagine though, like with all the 2Bs and all the conversation you have as a sports guy with 2Bs, 2As, and like you'd finally be able to mash all the best of them together and just go to war with those losers over in Grays Harbor.
Yeah.
Except for Oakville, the Oakville kids would be on our team.
Yes. I mean, I think it sounds better on paper than it probably really would be. 'Cause there's been various like local semi-pro teams that pop up and they never last more than a season or two.
But if it's tied to the college, it would be a little better.
Yeah, sure.
I think the biggest accomplishment with this is getting back the soccer field, right? Like, I think that's sort of the biggest thing that they've been focused on for the last whatever decades.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because before this, they've just played at Centralia High School, right?
Yeah, I've said it before. I think it's awesome that you're going to have a sports complex downtown. There's so many possibilities there outside of just the Centralia College teams playing on it.
No kidding.
You could have some cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
I think if all goes well, they should be able to have like one of their last soccer game
Yeah, they're mad. You can call them a match or a game.
Yeah.
Friendly, maybe.
on that. If they have it set up in time, it seems like they might.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It
That'd
would
be cool for the seniors for sure.
Yeah.
It would be cool if they threw like football goalposts and football, markings on there, and you can have like playoff games down there or something.
Only if
that'd
you
be sweet.
time-lapsed it.
Yeah, well, yeah,
game.
obviously.
Time lapse the football game.
I'm just saying, I'm sitting here at a table full of content people, and you're all just like, content? No.
I mean,
That's
There's
just a
all-
lot of
photo.
work. It's a lot of work.
You roll into a window, you set up
Just
the
let it
camera,
go, man.
you plug it in, you hit record, and you walk away.
Do you
And
have a
then go
camera
get
that
it-
can do a time lapse for a week
Yeah, it's just
without
an
being
iPhone.
checked on?
Plug it in.
Because we
Well,
just
for a
have
week,
extra
like,
iPhones at the
Of course
Chronicle.
we do. I borrowed one from Schwartz for covering state.
Oh, man.
God, you guys are acting
Must
like there's
be
so many
nice.
obstacles. You could just walk over there. You could practically see it from the other window.
Maybe you should have done it then. Hey,
I was at my real job.
I think we should turn the
Which
podcast
definitely
into
exists.
a time lapse and just have Jared come in here and time lapse the podcast.
it goes. We just talk really fast.
That's what gets uploaded.
Yeah, you can listen to the whole podcast at 10 times speed and be done with it in 5 minutes. One day, that's the future of content is time lapses. Next item, Lewis County Sheriff candidates debate topics at forum. Sounded pretty interesting. Isabel wrote a really long story on it.
Yeah, it was 2,500 words.
It's sometimes the most insulting thing you can say about somebody's story. You say that really harsh right off top. Like, Isabel wrote a long story.
Well, there was just so much to cover. And,
that was great.
There are kind of two ways you can go about this. You can form a string of their main ideas and then merge together the different questions and quotes, or you can just separate out the questions. And I felt the simplest and least biased way to do it was the latter, but that also means that you have to write up every single question and every single answer. So it ended up being really, really long. And I think the only story I've ever written for the Chronicle that was longer was Person of the Year.
Yeah, and it came in the same week that we had a letter writer down in Winlock that asked for more coverage. So I thought that was good, responsive chronicling.
Yeah. Did you send it to him? Be like, here you go. Here's that coverage you asked for.
No, I didn't.
Did you have a time-lapse video of the debate?
No, I didn't. But that same letter was very critical of this podcast. I brought you the news when we got that pro podcast letter, so I have to let you know it was not unanimous.
What did they say about the podcast? Just critical of
I believe the last line was no more jet ski questions.
Yeah, they thought it was too flippant.
Oh. Have they never listened before?
They have never listened before.
I kind of imagine.
Yeah, I said I wouldn't talk about this. I am going to touch on it briefly. There was a lot of people that obviously listened to that podcast with this being a hotly contested race. I don't think they're really, I don't think they know that we kind of keep it lighthearted, and sometimes there's hardly any.
They're drop-in listeners.
Yeah, drop-in listeners. So I could get being frustrated if you were really passionate about either Snoz or Murphy, and then you get on to listen, and you get a lot of,
it's a lot of
there's a little fluff in there. Yeah, what's your favorite cup? That type of thing. And then I think that mixed in a member of that campaign had sent us an item about Chief Stacy Denham at the Centralia Police Department, basically saying Snaza lied about a few things during a podcast. I was out on vacation and missed it. I think there was some frustration that we didn't do a story on it.
Yeah.
And so all that kind of played together. But
my reasoning behind not pushing, well, first of all, yeah, like you said, you were gone, but I just felt like it wasn't the newsroom's responsibility to cover the podcast. If we had written it up and put it in the paper, then we would have been able to follow up on that other stuff. But then arguments between candidates that happen not related to the news, that's just separate from what I felt was our responsibility to cover as a reporter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's also not uncommon. And I'm not trying to devalue what they have or whatever. I think you can go to their page probably and see it on Facebook. I mean, if we wrote up every time a candidate said my opponent lied, and we don't have exact proof, and maybe it's a person-to-person verbal exchange or something like that, then we'd be doing a lot of that. So we like to try to stick to the issues. In my case, though, I was gone. I missed it stupidly, but I know there were some hurt feelings, and so I am sorry for that. But I think we're doing a great job on this race. I thought this was a great story, and I thought it was a fabulous format. You mentioned Mindy was. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, I'll harken back to the one that was held at the Roxy Theater. And this is no criticism to the way that was done, but it was definitely at times a hostile crowd. I think with that in mind, the Packwood Improvement Club had solicited questions from the public ahead of time so that nobody was holding a mic at any point during this except for the candidates and the moderator. And the moderator was Lewis County Senior Long Range Planner Mindy Brooks. In this capacity, she was just there as a Packwood resident, but her role with the county did come up a little bit in the commissioner, I would say debate sort of, but it wasn't like they were really back and forth. They were just all the candidates answered the same questions. By the way, you can read now the commissioner forum on Cronline, I think.
Yes.
Yep,
it's all up.
posted. So it will be in the next paper.
A couple highlights from the story that I enjoyed. I liked at some point, I think Snaza was talking about the Blake decision, and in response to that, Murphy had a comment about, first of all, drugs are still illegal. Like, I like that. I feel like that's something that's been, it's kind of like a rallying cry for one political side to be like, well, drugs are legal and nobody's getting arrested for them. And like, that's Murphy's job. And so I can see him being like, actually.
I kind of like that too, to be honest. Like, just because I understand what Snaz is saying 100%, and it's not like Lewis County is the only one that's having to bring in all these drug possession cases and pay them back their fines and let them go. Like, that is 100% happening. But I think citizens probably would respect but if you find them with it, go ahead and arrest them. Like, you're not the court, so see how it goes.
The transparency question was interesting. Especially like we've discussed this, I don't know, maybe on mic, but also off mic. The sheriff's office hasn't done much to share info on things lately. Like they stopped doing their news tip line or tip line. What's it called?
The news line, but that's been a few years out, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a staff thing, but yeah, it's definitely been one of those things that we wish we could get every call log and information from them all the time.
To their credit, I will say, like, and Emily would tell you this too, our crime reporter. If you reach out and ask about something that happened, you get the info right back. It's nothing like we haven't ever gotten the sense they're trying to keep something from us, but it's more like for a lot of things we have to hear about it from someone and then ask, and then it's like, oh yeah, that did happen. Here's everything.
Yeah.
It's not. It used to be like, here is the information. You can follow up on it if you want. It's now like, if you find information and want to follow up, we are here.
Right.
Murphy also had a comment. He added, the public has a right to information on their elected officials, and that he doesn't want to lose sight of that fact. The fact that he is a public servant, not a king.
That's reassuring.
It's
got enough crisis in its democracy.
I just imagine like what would Snaza be like as a king? Big Robert Baratheon vibes if you're a Game of Thrones guy. Big other takeaway is Murphy doubled down on his tough on crime stance. We have to have a plan for what we're going to do with our criminals. I understand that there's mental health issues that need to be done. That's other collaboration with other people to try to get those programs in the jail to fix it. We have an ability when someone commits a crime on the street to be able to arrest them and put them into a facility to get them off the streets and out of our communities. I didn't realize that quote was so long when I started reciting it. But it's just about, being able to arrest people and having a place to put them and things along those lines.
I'm not countering that, but I'd add that Snaza spoke at length about kind of the things that the jail and the sheriff's office trying to do with mental health issues, working with mental health providers. I thought he talked at length about that, and I think that's very important. It's important to me personally, but also just that's a big facet of what we're dealing with. So I like that the sheriff is, at least thinking about that and trying to provide care, and I think that's probably why I think Richard Stride over at Cascade Healthcare has been supportive of SNAS in the past.
Murphy also added that he's a fan of using canine units to search the jail for drugs, and added the dog could be used in local schools as well to prevent contraband from being brought to school. I'm all for using canine units for, their intended purpose, but as the parent of a child who will be in high school next year, I don't like the idea of just having a drug dog around all the time. As we've seen from plenty of research, they're not 100% reliable.
Which drugs can they find? I'm not concerned about Ty's doobie collection, but if Ty's getting into that rainbow fentanyl, I'd like to find that.
I don't know. I can't see the Chehalis School District, who we also have a story about how great they are, being like, you know what, bring in the drug dogs. We'll station them here every single day. Both Thornburgs will have a drug dog. But anyway, it was a really good story. Pretty good debate forum, whatever you want to call it. And it sounded very respectful between the two of them. Nobody called the other one, dirty names.
Didn't turn into like the Will Ferrell, Zach Galifianakis movie.
No. The whole thing was really a lot of like, I agree with that, and this is what I think is what makes that possible or impossible or whatever. I think in general, it's really hard. I might have said this in the intro to the story, but it's really quite hard to find like philosophical differences between the two. It's very easy to find like issues that they disagree on for sure, but they're both like, we want law enforcement to be able to do everything, sort of.
Like law and order Republicans.
Yeah, I don't know if that seems like sort of a broad brush, but yeah, that is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Are you guys ready for...
Oh, I'd like to step in here and use my pass.
Bad news, buddy.
I get a pass. That's it. It's in the bylaws.
I didn't issue you guys a pass before
in the
first
podcast
one. How can
bylaws.
we not talk about
I've
this?
been saving it since like 3 podcasts ago.
That doesn't... You don't get to say... They don't roll over, man.
I've been holding on to it.
This isn't T-Mobile.
So I'm going to have to
I'm the only one that still
rant
has a
about
pass.
this for the next 30 minutes.
I will make it snappy.
I'm just joking, Aaron. I'm not gonna counter you as much as I do. So you just go.
Oh gosh.
Oh, Commissioner Swope's encampment
Heavy
removal and
eye
cleanup
roll.
policy just dropped. Hot new track.
I'm gonna take my headphones off for a few.
Wait, after the whole thing with I was told I shouldn't curse on the podcast, but when you said a bad thing about people, I feel that a bylaw we actually should follow is that you always read the actual headline of the
I'm getting
story.
there.
Okay.
The actual headline is County Commissioner drafts ordinance prohibiting homeless camps on Lewis County land. The new policy would prohibit the establishment of homeless encampments on county property and give county officials and law enforcement new avenues to disband those already established. Isabel, you did a nice job on this story.
Thanks.
And
it
I have to ask,
wasn't too long, is what he's
it
saying.
wasn't too long.
I was ready for
I do have to ask, when you spoke to Swope for this story, was he like, did he subtly be like, this is going to be on News Dump, right?
No.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. What do you guys want to weigh in on anything?
No, you can go. You just go.
You're just clearing out.
I'm clearing the lane. I'm not going to go hard in the paint on this, so I'm going to jog back the other way and wait for a rebound pass.
The draft plan includes its own section allowing an expedited process for cleanups if the area is determined immediately hazardous. Although the qualifiers kind of sound like they just include anything Swope thinks is gross or scary. It lists harboring bacteria, viruses, human waste, or rot, or where sharp objects, drug paraphernalia, animal carcasses, and or garbage are present. Which
Do we not all think most of those things are scary and gross?
they are, but
mean,
throwing that
like-
in there covers pretty much
I think
all
every
private residences in Lewis County.
Okay, but I think any person can find something.
Checks
on
out for my house.
Franklin, you got any sharp objects at your house? You got any drug paraphernalia, dead animals, garbage? You got any garbage?
We got garbage.
Guess what? Swope's coming to clean your ass out.
There's I didn't think I was going to have to explain this, but there's a really detailed description of what qualifies as an encampment in the policy. That's they can't just decide because it's gross.
Does he
No, hang on. The policy is like they have these abilities to remove encampments. And then this other section I added was that there might be an expedited process for encampments that are deemed hazardous. And then it has a whole other section defining what is hazardous. So you can't just say that because there are these things in other places, that means they're going to remove people from those sites.
I like
That's
to
not what's
imagine
going
he
to
just
happen.
has a one-sheet checklist that he shows up, and it's like a scavenger hunt.
It's like, I just need 4 of these 5 boxes.
It's like, I see you got a knife there.
I
and
didn't
is that
think I was
drug
going to have to
paraphernalia?
explain this to Aaron, but
There's no dead animal. He like rattles a dead mouse out of his pant leg.
oops,
gonna sprinkle
see that
some-
on the floor.
Sprinkle some dead cats in this corner, and
Oh,
you're getting
gosh.
evicted, buddy. Anyway, my favorite part of the story was Swope said he was told by the prosecuting attorney's office that the policy was first created by Pierce County in a collaboration with the ACLU and tweaked slightly. Isabel did all of the homework on this and tracked down Pierce County, who said, we got it from Tacoma. Then she called Tacoma, who said, we got it from Seattle. And then she called Seattle, who said, we got it a while ago, but we don't think the ACLU weighed in. And then she asked the ACLU, who gave a pretty definitive LOL no. I would also love to hear Jonathan Meyer weigh in on whether or not his office actually told Sean Swope this, because I'm not an expert, but it kind of sounds like the type of thing you just make up. Because
All I know is
sounds
I
good.
came into work, I think it was at Friday, And Isabel was already in here just furiously working the phones on this. And I think it was super important. It's not to stick it to Swope if it's not true. And I think there's still a chance that something about it might be true. ACLU might have weighed in on something, whatever. But you don't want to attribute to something to the ACLU as a newspaper and have them come in later and be like, no, that's not true at all. Because then that gets its own headline.
Yeah, that was my main thought with this. And I'm aware of their representation of homeless people in lawsuits against the city of Seattle. And as we just stated, that through that phone tree, we discovered that this is a policy that's been adapted from the city of Seattle. So I was incredulous thinking that they were involved in it. And I'm not saying that I think Swope lied about this. I think he was probably told incorrectly or misinformed in some way. And I'm if I thought that and I were a commissioner, I'm sure that I would also want to say that, because that would be a cool ribbon to have on this. But I did not want to, because I thought it might not be correct. I really wanted to make sure I did my homework. So
you did a nice job. He also called what's ERAP stand for? Emergency Rent Assistance Program.
Yep.
Which is basically during the pandemic, there were Department of Commerce grants that people got so they didn't get evicted. He doesn't like those. They're socialism. He said people need to help themselves.
Yeah, this is something that I wanted to bring up, since we have talked several times in the last few months about those $22 million Department of Commerce dollars. This is the first time, this article, is the first time we were able to break down kind of where that was actually spent. And Misha Hanlon with the county public health noted that 13 or 14 million of those dollars were probably spent on this ERAP and other programs that were preventative. So it was keeping Lewis County residents away from being homeless, basically. It's still a lot of money that was spent on services not related to that, but it is sort of encouraging to think that these dollars were being put toward making sure residents were kept in their homes. And especially for the folks maybe everyone who heard that number and was well, what was that put for, Yeah. Because you can't see it. And when you are just comparing people who weren't homeless to people who are still not homeless, it's not something that is super visible, but probably so many people have been helped by that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You guys want to cover anything else on this?
No.
That's.
I would like to use it to move into a offer, and this is breaking news.
Oh no!
From Franklin and I, Coralie, our CEO, has decided to seize upon your obsession with Swope's, or your criticism of Swope's government, and she wants to expedite the race, and she wants it to raise money for the Hope Alliance.
Yep, Hope
in
Alliance.
order to get gift cards for
gas cards.
Yes, for domestic and sexual abuse victims. And so all we need right now is the date, and we're gonna go with that. I know Sean's already said he'd do it.
Sean's in.
I will
what kind of race are we
absolutely.
doing?
Aaron's in.
Wait,
What do we?
I will absolutely donate to this cause. However, who else would care?
People would care.
People would care. I don't think
Really?
anybody would care.
No. The thing is, this is going to run like a high school football team selling those cards that give you value. So you're going to have to sell 100 cards, and Swope's going to have to sell 100
okay.
cards.
Okay, so you have to make people care.
I'm not going to go sell
We'll
these cards.
sell them on your behalf. I'll wield the full strength of the Chronicle's social media.
We should have a goal.
Go
we
right
need,
on out.
I think it's they need gas cards, so we could say we need X amount of money before this race can start.
And so then we'll say, so one part of the win will be how many sponsor you. So you could win the sponsorship pool. And then the second, we're just going to get down to physical prowess.
So the entire race is who raises the most money?
No, that's half.
And then
the other is the actual race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what are the actual parameters of the race?
We still got to figure that out.
Yeah, no, there's.
I have said I'd be happy to do a beer mile.
I think we need a round table.
I think so too. I think we need a blue ribbon committee for this.
Blue ribbon panel. I like that.
That's a great callback.
But they have no say in what we do.
Oh no,
They have no say. They just suggestions only.
In keeping with
Suggestions
the
only.
blue ribbon committee, as Franklin said, we can just overrule it at the end and be like, nah.
It's advisory.
I love that you just said that. That's really funny.
Yeah. So
Okay,
anyway,
so
yeah. Also,
this is happening.
On this story, props to Eric Martin and Mia Handlin for handling the follow-up questions with responsible, reasonable answers about helping people. I appreciate it.
As bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, Isabel deleted some of my favorite notes.
Yeah, I saw that. You were textually castrated.
Oh, that's a really descriptive way of saying that.
Jeez.
Just saying.
All right. Wow. Can't wait to hear what this race is going to be.
Moving along.
It's going to be good.
Next news item, 506 bridge torn down Thursday night. Once they rebuild the southbound section, it'll be a foot higher, according to DOT's Paul Mason. Good call.
It's a good choice.
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot, and you know what else is a really good call? The first call you make to the roof doctor. Why is that, Eric?
Oh, don't listen to me. There are experts with a lot more experience with the roof doctor, although I've had enough to know that when and if I need a roof, it's going to be from them. So we'll just take it from Richard S. to be specific.
Is it Richard Sherman?
It could be. I don't know.
That might
Dickie
be
Smith?
Richard Stride.
It could be Richard Stride as well.
Could be.
I live on
columnist.
I live on a small Puget Sound.
Richard Simmons?
I live on a small Puget Sound island, which is accessible by ferry only. I contacted the roof doctor to see if they would replace my roof, even though I live in a rather remote area. They said that they would send somebody out. I was very impressed with the manner Tyson interacted with me and told me about how a roof doctor could replace my roof, the materials needed, and gave me the rundown on the estimate. Not only was Tyson pleasant, so this is also a shout out to Tyson at the Roof Doctor.
People's Champion of the Week.
Not only was Tyson pleasant to talk to, he did not have the hard sell tactics that other companies use. It was evident that Tyson has great confidence in the company he works for and the materials used. They did an excellent job on my roof. Cleanup was very good, and once the weather was right, it was done in one day. Highly recommend the Roof Doctor.
Yeah.
A roof.
That's Richard S.
That's a good review.
Rome
Really
wasn't
good.
built in a day, but your roof could be.
Yep. He has a phone not a phone. He has a home on an island. You know it's true.
Yeah, he must be rich. Mm-hmm. He probably could have afforded to pay for an estimate, but you know what? He didn't have to.
Gotta respect it.
Yeah. All right. Next news item. Woman accused of...
There was no information in that ad. Like, we didn't actually use the phone number or anything. Oh, well.
Visit
you can
the
look him up at the
roofdoctor.com.
I've already closed the tab. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It is theroofdoctor.com.
I'm glad you tried.
It
was fun.
I did like the note on the bridge teardown story that you guys did ask to get a video and they said no.
Yeah.
Did you ask to get a time lapse?
I was ready for it.
I probably would have done a time lapse if I could actually be there. Can you imagine a bridge demolition? Because I can't.
And they sent the photos. I got a pretty good idea
just
how
go
it went
stand
down.
by the bridge and somebody's going to run into it.
I wanted to see them like blow it up. You know what I mean? I don't know what they do, but
It looks like they just tear it apart.
Eric,
We got photos. DOT sent us some photos. They were good.
my point with this is that anytime I think that something might be fantastical, I like to just believe that until I can go take photos of it myself to prove myself wrong.
Blowing it up does sound better than just tearing it apart.
Like the Kingdom.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was just like that.
Next news item. Woman accused of pouring gasoline into fish pond and damaging property in Chehalis faces animal cruelty charge. This happened on Bunker Creek and Adna, and it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of other info aside from that. Some other things were destroyed on the property as well. The expert that they talked to in the story was from over at Pioneer West on Tower in Centralia. And just basically they said, yeah, the fish all died and they probably suffered for days and it just burnt up their gills. But it's the first fish animal cruelty charge I've ever personally seen. So there's that.
All right. Big sushi guy?
No, I don't. I don't eat raw fish. I'm not Gollum.
Next news item.
I'm just saying. I don't know how anybody does that.
Lewis County honors Gary Stamper. Thursday was the 1-year anniversary of the former state champion basketball coach and county commissioner's death. They had a ceremony out at his grave in Mossy Rock. It sounded very nice. Eric Martin, county manager, had some good things to say. Quote I liked from him: one of the things I learned from Gary is the importance of building relationships. You can be good at your work technically, but if you're not building relationships, you're going to have a hard time getting things done. That's where you're going to make progress on the things the county is trying to accomplish. Don't forego relationships for short-term gain. Also, the Lewis County Economic Alliance has a scholarship fund open too.
Also, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I'm glad the county did that.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about this a long time, but I did add this one to the notes. Lewis County Commissioners toss windmill hearing. Ordinance will not move forward.
Oh, wait, wrong button.
What are you doing? By the way, Aaron controls the soundboard, just for listeners
we have no
who
control.
Don't know. I just wanted to briefly touch on this since we've talked about it on the podcast a couple times, but for the foreseeable future, Lewis County will not be getting a new wind farm in the Willapa Hills. Public hearing by the Board of County Commissioners on a proposed code change, which would have allowed research on windmills, is no longer going to be held, and the commissioners have decided to let the ordinance die instead of vote yes or no on it.
They don't even want to do their own research.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lewis County 1, windmills 0.
Yeah, they snuck some in over on the Skookum checks, though. They're on the board. It's not a shutout.
0.
It's not a shutout. Don't call it a shutout.
And then the last news item I've got, a headline, "This doesn't just happen by chance. How the Chehalis School District became a jewel in public education." It's a feature on how great the Chehalis School District is. They raised their graduation rate from 77% to 96% over the last 10, 12 years with the Student Achievement Initiative.
First of many features.
Yeah, this will be
a whole series.
This will be an ongoing series. I think the next one, this is reporter Matthew Zylstra, a WF West graduate like yourself, Isabel. His next one will be focused more on the Chehalis Foundation and what it has done. It's very true that what has happened in Chehalis is remarkable, like on a not just a district level or a county level or a state level. It's just flat out remarkable to have those kind of numbers. And so we've worked on this for a long, long time. Various reporters have started it, and Matthew was the first one to actually get the big story out. I think it's like for everyone, at least around this table, probably most people in the community, it's kind of like old hat. You're like, oh yeah, Chehalis has great schools. We know that. So I think it's cool to actually put some numbers on it and some context and have something there for years to come, and also for school districts that are kind of studying them and the pace that they did it and what moves were made when and why. But I think it's cool.
All right. And with that, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jasek from Summit Funding. Here's what a recent client is saying about us.
Hi, this is Chad Taylor. Have you been thinking about purchasing or refinancing your current home? The team at Summit Funding is the best in class. Looking for a conventional FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, or even a reverse mortgage? Trust the team at Summit Funding. Corley and I did, and we couldn't be happier.
Thank you to all of our past clients. If you have any questions, give us a call at 360-330-4037.
All right, we're back after a heated debate during the break. And now we're ready to talk about the opinion page. And it's just election letter after election letter after election letter.
Hey, there's some other letters in there, too. There's a school board letter in there.
See them. Anyway, yeah, that was, if you want to read them, go ahead. Like, you know what they say.
I think I speak for everyone, and candidates included, when I say it'll be really nice when the election's over.
Well, page main 6 and 7 disagree with you because we like having the letters, fills it out.
No, I mean, it does make up a significant amount of the paper right now in all facets of the elections, not just the sheriffs, but yeah, it's good for that, but not for really anybody else.
Oh, I think people like reading them.
I don't know. I'm just like, it'll be
the
nice
non-election letters are what you got to be more worried
anymore.
about. I saw the January 6th one, where we ran the January 6th one, so of course I saw it, where he was just like his checkmate at the very beginning was just like, did any officers die on the day of the attack? No, didn't think so. And I'm like, but 3 did, like the next day. Like, or whatever it was. I don't want to spout this information, but there were deaths.
People's Champion of the Week. Former Miss Lewis County wins pageant, will compete for national title. This is Emily Parnham, skiers. That's always confused me, like how you put the maiden name in parentheses right after the maiden name.
Yeah, I think it's
like
just because that's...
I mean, that's the style, but it's always like thrown me for a loop.
It's just so you remember who it is.
I'm not criticizing it.
This
is a criticism of
it's
myself.
Like you just criticized all our letter writers.
Not understanding.
You and Isabel pooping all over the will of the people.
I actually didn't say anything about the letter writers. I just said I can't wait for the election to be over.
People's Champion of the Week is Emily Skiers, who is competing as Mrs. Olympia. Is that how you pronounce Mrs. when it's got the R in there?
Yeah.
Mrs.
Yep.
She was crowned Mrs. Washington. I'm pronouncing the R. In the United States of America's Miss Oregon and Washington pageant on Sunday, September 18th at the Richard E. Wildish Community Theater in Springfield. I'm assuming that's Springfield, Oregon. She was formerly Ms. Lewis County in 2008.
She was Miss.
She was still
That's Miss Lewis County.
Yeah. Ms. Lewis County.
No, that's not a title.
Anyway, congratulations, Emily. You are our People's Champion of the Week.
Wait, you didn't want to...
No, actually, I think your opinion's trash in this case. No offense to her. But I personally enjoyed Isabel Vander Stoep's story on Titus Sickles, the Toledo boy, age 4, had a heart transplant when he was very young. His family's created a wish list for him. And they're going to have a huge Nerf war on October 23rd at Fort Borse Park. So I guess I should say I'm okay with your choice for People's Champion, but a strong contender here would be this whole family.
Yeah, I plugged that one in the notes. I thought that you were going to include it as my nom.
No, I didn't read it. I was trying to skip through. I got to go pick up my idiot brother at the airport.
That's fair. Okay.
We're going to the Nerf War too, though, so it won't be the first time.
All right.
Are you guys covering it?
Oh, yeah.
Going to do a time lapse?
Oh, yeah. Goddamn.
We can just end this,
It'd be
right?
a lot cooler if you did. We don't have to do butter emails if you don't have one.
No, I did have one. It was from a source, and the subject said, emailing : 571. Body of the text of the email just said, found this old picture, and the attached in it was a photo of me from when I was 14. And
weird.
It was really unsettling.
That's weird. What does 571 mean?
I don't know.
Questions.
It was nice though. It was
a file name or something.
Sirens Banger of the Week. This is an assault just after 5:50 p.m. on September 28th. A caller reported a subject, quote, hit him in the groin in the 1500 block of North National Avenue.
Why is it funny? It shouldn't be funny.
You're laughing.
I can't help it.
See?
I was also just reminded me when Pete Castor, our former photographer, left to go to the Lewiston Tribune. We had a nice night together, had a few drinks over at the pub, and Pete got all earnest and was just like, well, I'm going to give you a hug before I go. And it had been that kind of night. And he just reaches out and just wraps you right in the groin.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know why that was funny.
See?
We don't have to do Facebook comments of the week.
Oh, if you're worried about an airport pickup, Aaron once tried to get me to pick him up at 11 o'clock at night, which I was happy to do in Portland. Mm-hmm. And then I'm on my way out there, and I get to like the GC truck stop, and he's like, it's delayed. So I pull off, and I was like, well, when are you going to get in? And he was like, it'll be like, I don't know, probably 12:30. His plane got there at like 4 a.m.
No.
And you know what?
Yeah, I was stuck in LA.
I made the pickup. But the fact is, I searched the flight checker, and it already said 4 a.m. But he was going to string me along for like as long as he could to make sure I was there to pick him up.
It's 12. Oh, now it's 1. Sorry.
And it was a deadline day.
I was
a deadline.
It was a deadline.
I was just trying to
Aaron.
do the thing that you had just done to my section.
Oh, no, you don't. He doesn't deserve that.
Skip over it. We can skip over it. You guys don't want to do Facebook comments about Snazza protecting us from tyranny?
Just burn through them. Do it.
Let's see. On the sheriff's candidate debate, comment, we are fortunate Sheriff Snazza will continue to serve. He protected us from tyranny. His family is nice too. On the proposed homeless encampment ordinance. So exposing people to the raw elements as long as it's out of town is so much safer for them. I'll remember that when they start dying of hypothermia. Next comment, solve homelessness by making it illegal. Awesome thinking. And then my favorite, so well, now they can just go back to their houses and quit being homeless. Problem solved. Pretty good.
Going back to your sheriff candidates one, I just have to say I'm not going to read the comment, but Bill Saran, I like to give him special status on the podcast because he's one of the few that's been listening to us probably since around 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. He had a really nice comment on your story from the race, I thought. And he supports Murphy, but I just thought he went into it and was just like, we have 2 good men. Snaz has been there for 8 years. He's done a lot. Murphy has better energy. And it wasn't that I necessarily agreed with his take. It was more like you don't get a lot of well thought out takes. Bill Saran always brings the fire when it comes to that.
You also don't see those on Facebook too often.
That's true.
Speaking of well thought out takes, I actually think that one of the few sections of our comments that is well thought out tends to be on those homelessness stories. the tour of the encampment and then this one on the new ordinance, I think people really do have a lot to contribute there. I mean, some of them are just like angry and whether it's one way or the other, but then there are some really good conversations in there as well, like where people are really talking about the issues and saying how it might affect them one way or another.
Yeah. And finally, on a story about a proposed airport outside Olympia, the comment, with all the crime and drugs in that area, it's already set up to be another SeaTac, just need a few more hookers.
Oh, man.
Okay, in like rural Tenino?
Yeah, you haven't been out there?
Yeah.
It's a hellscape. Ladies of the night everywhere.
All the crime and drugs in that area? What? Like,
I like how it says just a few more.
What are they
That's why I was
talking
just
about?
alluding to.
I don't know. Do you want to talk about the next edition or just let people find out for yourself? It'll be out tomorrow. You know what? Just buy one.
No. I'll give you a lightning quick rundown. Lewis County Commissioners earmarked $4.5 million for 911 upgrades. We got Harvest Festival photos, Packwood Corridor Plan, an Isabel joint. We've got money to fight the opioid epidemic. Lewis County's getting $2.3 million. Centralia's getting $411,000. We've got the commissioner debate. We've got an autism coalition thing coming up.
A lot for a Tuesday.
Yeah, this is it's a packed paper tomorrow. You're going to want to pick it up. There's a lot more.
Got any time-lapse photos in there?
Them's the highlights. Nope, no time-lapse photos.
We're
Also-
sponsored by... Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say in closing that I'm sorry if I've been mean to you. I am really hungry.
Are you talking to me or Franklin or all of us?
All
or
of
Schwartz?
you.
R.I.P. Coolio.
Yeah, we do. You will. The music you heard at the beginning was, in fact, Gangster's Paradise.
Good.
Yeah.